So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Donny Chaingang with me, Matt Payne. We are live in the Full Speed Event studios. It's been a frantic day. It's been absolutely manic. We're trying to get everything done. If you see me looking sideways across the screens, it's because we are literally trying to get everything done simultaneously as setting up. We've had a very fast turnaround from a couple of recordings and broadcasting sessions, but we're back. It's about 3 minutes to go to the start of the Donny Chaingang, and what I think we're going to do, let's first of all welcome the one and only, the Professor herself, aka the boss. It is going to be Emma. Hi, Emma.
Good evening, Matt. Lovely to be with you all.
So, Emma, we have had one great ride last Wednesday. Got another good one coming up. Quickly give us a quick rundown for our yellow and red beacon. Let's feature them first of all, and we'll dive onto the map once we're up and running.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, thank you so much to Sammy Stewart and Joe Jarvis for our yellow beacon and red beacon duties last week. This week, Millie Skinner is our yellow beacon. Millie, those of you who have ridden the WOW DCG and the Tuesday and Thursday Donny Chaingang will know Millie really, really well. She has ridden the Donny Chaingang and the women's only Donny Chaingang many, many times, and last season was indeed one of the riders to make a lot of the action on the front of the WOW DCG on a Wednesday. So Millie takes the yellow beacon for the first time, but it's no way is it the first time she's ridden the WOW DCG. Likewise, our red beacon today, Laura Lawson. Again, nobody has been such a proponent of the WOW DCG as Laura. She had, again, like Millie, has often been seen really pushing the action at the front, and she has done red beacon duties for us before. So really safe hands today with Laura on red duty.
Indeed, and we've got a cracker of a route as well. So our route today, it is the Eastern 8, but there is a particular thing everybody needs to know. We're not doing it all.
No, we're not. It is 51k in total, so slightly too long for the time frames we're trying to hit today. So we have a special treat today because we are going to finish when we get to the top of Titan's Grove reverse climb. So the course will go through the Fuego Flats, it will go through Titan's Grove the right way round on the first lap. You will then go backwards round Fuego Flats and back into Titan's Grove the other way round. And as you hit the top of Titan's Grove, the actual King of the Mountain section, on the second time as you come back through, that's where we will stop tonight at 41.2k, and we'll then have 1.8 warm down to the blue banner.
Well, our riders are lined up and ready to go. We're into the last 20 seconds. Let's drop down on to the line. Looks like Millie has got some serious typing skills on the go already down there. So great to see that Millie's got this absolutely dialed, and as you can see, our riders are starting to get lined up to go. Here we go, away we are and out from the start line. So our riders away, and that looks like a nice big pack of riders. This is just, of course, the run in towards the section that takes us onto the course proper. So we do have quite a long lead in, don't we, Emma, to get ourselves in 2.4k.
Yeah, indeed. So it is quite a long lead in onto the course today out of the start pens. As you say, Matt, 2.4 kilometres lead in before we head onto the Eastern 8 course itself. We will do 38.8 kilometres of that Eastern 8 course, which is what gives the eagle-eyed amongst you that 41.2 to the finish line today at the top of that Titan's Grove reverse. Then that 1.8, spin your legs out, feel better before you get off the bike to the blue event banner.
And that's really critical, isn't it? That warm down is key.
Oh gosh, desperately. Yeah, nothing worse than getting off the bike without having spun your legs down afterwards, particularly with what will probably end up being a fast and furious time after the go today.
So our riders out and away. If we take a little bit of a check down on the riders down there, you can see that group all coming away nice and smoothly at the moment. And the beacons just sitting, holding the pace together at the moment, looking good. So our riders on the way, everybody in and off the line, looking good to me. I'm just going to take a little bit of a run back. Looks like Lisa Jane Light in here. I think Cardwell just with a little bit of work to do to get back on here. So let's see how these riders are rolling, Emma.
Yeah, and let's not forget we've also got a late start on here. So if you do have a problem coming off the start line, there is the opportunity to drop out and then drop back in. And that drop back in will put you back with that main bunch. So if you are having tech problems off the start and you do have a problem, that late join is always a great opportunity. But it's looking to me now as though the red beacon is just dropping back, and I think there's going to be some help to bring Cardwell back on. Yep, indeed, Millie Skinner makes a call out for everyone to take it easy, and let's get that group together. So group working really well together, with Millie putting a call out and Laura, our red beacon, just dropping back. In fact, look at that. So Cardwell now caught onto the back of Lawson, and I would imagine we are going to start to see them work together to pull that group back. In fact, look at that. I can see another rider just dropping back off of that group to form a longer line so that we can make the most of that draft and bring those riders in.
So our riders up and away and moving quite smoothly at the moment. You can see that little group behind the gang, and we're just in with Alison Kinlock at the moment, who is going to be one of our yellow beacons, Emma.
Yeah, so Alison, I'm frantically going through my head for a date. I think Alison will be taking the yellow beacon duties over on the 26th of October, which will be our 4th WOW DCG. Next week, Becky Story takes the honours for us. So Alison, fantastic. She's re-engaged with Zwift and is back on the Chaingang to spin her legs out before she takes on those yellow beacon duties.
Indeed. So Lola just pushing to get back into that group. Let's take a little bit of a hunt down there. Just coming in and through. Looks like Tarquino just dropping the pace there. So if you do have an issue, then remember, guys, make sure that you let everybody know. And make sure that you jump back in. Remember, we have got a late join, so it means you can jump out and jump back in again. Makes life very simple, as Emma has already said. And one of those key things that you need to know if you are on your way through. So remembering to make sure that you use that late join if you can. So Cheryl Carroll just thanking the beacon. Millie's just sat a little bit further back off the group. She's got Foxy for company, but looks like a few people at the front just stretching out. Looks like Gora just coming back to help there. Looks like Emma Gilbert just dropping off the pace a little. Remember, guys, number 6 key is absolutely essential.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on that as well is, as you say, absolutely essential to do that.
So Millie putting out the pace notes to people. We're not all together yet. Get everyone together before we start to wind it up. And that should no doubt be the case. Going to see everybody. Looks like John Munden back in us in where this got Backhouse in here. We've got Tackon in, Derby in as well. So those riders just easing off, and you can see those numbers there all dropping down to 1.5, and that's what we want to see. Everybody working together to get the group back here. So I think Tarquinio is going to have to be left behind here. Lawson, I think, is just ticking along the gauge. You're going to need to pull a bit of a pace out here.
They are indeed, to actually move this group through now, because we have indeed now got a 17-second gap back. But the front group are behaving themselves, tapping along at around 1.5 watts per kilo. So Millie and the group here needing to close this gap now and get back to this group.
So here we go, this group coming back together again, and they're going to be picking the pace up to get themselves back into that group. I think Alison just rolling back to go give them a hand. And this is where that pack is absolutely key. So a quick reminder, remember this is Eastern 8. It's quite a nice profile on here. Whilst this group gets itself together, I think we're going to just jump across the screens. And Emma, as you can see, we have the profile up on our map. And that profile essentially showing that our riders have got mostly flat, but that weaving, wiggling, sinuous climb is pretty tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So you're quite right. Big, long, flat section to start with. So hopefully this group can get together and then actually stay together through these flatlands. So rolling out on these flatlands is really good. And once that group gets moving, it really starts to pick up some pace as well, even at the lower watts per kilo. Then, as you mentioned, Matt, we go through Titan's Grove and we go through these rolling lands. You know, cadence really is key through this section because you continue to go up and you continue to go down. And actually just utilising cadence to manage those transitions between the downhills and the uphills through that section is really good. Titan's Grove itself is a bit of a climb, but not one that really is too steep, and actually a lot of it is draftable. So again, for our group today, it should be quite good to just keep an eye on cadence and power, and actually that group should move through that section quite well. We then did talk, Matt, didn't we, that we go round into the Fugo Flats the other way. So again, another big long flat section of just over 7 kilometres before they go in towards Titan's Grove again.
So as they go in through those flatlands, our riders making their way in along the straight. You can just see them together as they go through the towns, and the scenery here. I absolutely love the fact there's things like we've got the little whirlwind, the tornado just weaving its way around. It's even got its own shadow down there. The riders just starting to make the way down towards that main group at the moment, and looks like all back together again, so they can get on with it.
It does indeed.
Brilliant.
And I have to say, Matt, I am on level 50 of Zwift, and I have never seen the tornado before, so thank you for pointing out things on the commentary.
Well, I clearly spend enough time on Zwift going slowly and appreciating the scenery instead of going eyeballs out on the front and leading the ride and having to watch everything that's going on in and around me. So at the moment, working well. I think nice to see these riders going nice and smoothly, and everybody all together. So great to see everyone in. The riders riding well, and not going to be long before we start to see some kind of wind up. So let's see how the gang go. It's our red beacon just sitting on the back of the pack, just patrolling nicely. It's got her eye on there. That is Laura Lawson, Lala Lawson. Why is she called Lala? Emma, I thought you were the font of all knowledge for all things.
Though it is interesting, isn't it? We do have some new welcome to Helena on the screen at the moment, so it's fantastic to see new riders joining the WOW DCG, along with riders who have ridden with us a lot. In fact, it'd be really interesting. I think there's quite a few new riders on that pack today, Matt.
I think there is. Do you want me to use my really sad memory of who is new and who isn't? Because I'm quite good at that, aren't I, really? I just sort of ought to get out a bit more. So, from the top, I think new riders: Cheryl Cardwell, Jennifer A, Harriet Robb, not Mary O'Shea or Sarah Louise Hawkins, they're regulars. We've got Joe Munden, definitely a regular. Dooley's a regular. Helen Backhouse, new name. Michelle Sutcliffe McKay, new name. Joe Tacon, new name. Lindsay Clark, definitely not. Very experienced rider with us. Got Foxy in there. Lisa Jane Layton, another of our regulars. Mandy Hagman, new rider as well. Emma Gilbert's a regular. I think Lisa Darby has been before, and Lee Smith once, I think. I do need to get out more. It's quite worrying, isn't it, really?
Well, I just think, most of the winter you spend 3 nights a week on the Donny Chaingang, so, you should know these riders, Matt.
I should be exceedingly fit if I was spending 3 nights a week on the Donny Chaingang. Certainly it's only putting words to the action, but it's always a pleasure to be down here. So here we go, in through the Oasis, our riders go. Looking very nice out there at the moment. Let's have a nice scenic view as we go through. You'll notice the things that don't disappear, of course, on this are our Halo logos, and the Halo, of course, are our key supporters for the whole of October, because, of course, we are going to be running into Halloween. I have heard of the best Halloween costume going. I'm desperate to get her to jump on a bike. It's actually going to be by my daughter, who is going to be, I don't quite understand how it ties with Halloween, but Captain Jack Sparrow.
How does that tie in with Halloween?
Apparently, if you're down with the kids, Halloween is no longer just about being scary, it's about having cool costumes. So you see, we're clearly too old and understand the tradition, rather than necessarily the fact that it's just a great laugh. I love the fact Emma nods like we're on camera. But that on a bike would be quite entertaining. In fact, I think it would be very entertaining when that happens. So our riders riding in and through, and the message board, even though we haven't got them on here. Lisa Darby saying, hi ladies, lovely group. Let's see how they go. We've got someone from Colorado in here, New Zealand. Nice, Lisa Jane Lake converting Helen from hockey. Now, that is an insane sport.
What, hockey?
Yes. That's just thuggery. Legalised thuggery.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. There's a lot of skill in hockey, Matt.
There's a lot of skill in thuggery as well.
I can't say I've ever heard anybody say that before.
You've clearly not hung out in all the wrong places like I have. That's a sign of a misspent youth, or was it a misspent 30s? Enough of that. Our riders at the moment working well. Looks like Gora just dropping off the pace a little bit, just going to the back, just going to need to sprint back on here. So I'm sure Laura is going to be aware, and already I think just dragging back a little bit to go give a hand. And look at this Gora coming back in. I think that was a stop for a gel or a bottle or a bar rather than anything else.
Yeah, definitely, and it is one of those little things that catches you out sometimes, doesn't it? You know, you take a look down, you drop your bottle, all of those types of things can happen. They are one of the challenges of riding on Zwift.
Not as dramatic as if you drop that on the way out, so... Wow, I was just reading Foxy's message actually. She's old, Zwift 6th year at the end of October.
Wow.
That is some going. That is not quite as old as Russ or myself, or in fact Emma. Whether or not we all rode under our current profiles at the time is another matter. Far be it from us to share one at the very early days with our son. We wouldn't do a thing like that at all. No. However, it's great to see we've got experienced and new riders on the Chaingang. So if you've not watched the Chaingang before, how does the Chaingang work? Well, it's a ramp workout. This was originally the idea of a certain Russ Down in the multi-time national champion riders in the Olympics, ridden out in Richmond, a Zwift ambassador, and decided it'd be a great idea when we got to lockdown to have the Chaingang on Zwift. We did some test broadcasts, we did some test rides as part of the Downey cycling coach riding schemes. Russ and I got our heads together and we thought, yeah, let's do this. It'll only be, I don't know, 30 riders in the Chaingang, 10 riders in the Chaingang. You know, a couple of times a week. How hard can it be? What a pair of muppets were we? Because we didn't really understand quite how much work we were going to have to put in to make it all happen. Now, we have in real life rides and meetups. We have, of course, the WOW DCG, the Women Only Wednesday, Donny Chaingang. We have the Donny Chaingang on Tuesday and Thursday. 120 people on yesterday. We've got the Chaingang with the WOW DCG with the aim to build that right to the end to give that format. And of course we've got the DCG gang, which is the supporters club. So a bit like a lot of riders will have a riders supporters club to help support them through their racing season. Well, we've got exactly the same for the Donny Chaingang. And if you join Donny Chaingang, we get you all the links direct to your inbox, you get loads of discounts, and more importantly, you're helping keep the wheels turning for us, for Emma and for myself, and making sure we can bring all of the Chaingang to you. So make sure you subscribe to the feed if you're watching on the Full Speed Events or the Downing Cycling YouTube channel. If you're on the Facebook group, make sure you click notifications to get notified when we go live. So I'm loving Millie Skinner. She's our yellow beacon. Yellow beacon. We have Russ the Bear. We have Jimmy the Wolf. We have Emma, nicknamed the Boss. Sammy Stewart is nicknamed the Beast.
Oh, is she?
She is now. I haven't thought of one for Alison because Alison's too nice to get a nickname. Not that Sammy's not nice. I mean, you and Russ can just go.
You're going to end up digging a really big hole for yourself here, Matt.
What do you mean end up? I think I was in it a long time ago. But we are steadily trying to think of. I always like to have nicknames for everybody. You know, just giving them when they're plain old names. I'm sure the guys at Shibden will be able to come up with one for Alison. But she is a veteran of the Three Peaks. But we haven't got one for Millie at the moment, actually. I'm sure there's one if we ask the Pro Noctis team. Millie, of course, a Pro Noctis Rota, Huddy Kiarts and Red Chili Bikes Finish Line Race Team rider.
Yeah, and just announced that she's staying with the squad for her 3rd year next year.
Indeed, 3rd year. That is some going.
Yeah, well, I would say Millie is a phenomenal sprinter, and if you were going to give her a name for being Yellow Beacon, it would have to be something like Speedy, because I've seen her kick out nearly 15 watts per kilo in a sprint on the WOW DCG.
The monster.
She's,
the Watt Monster.
Yeah.
There you go. She can be Watt Monster. We'll think of something. I'm sure. I'm sure there's something that that puts it out there. Maybe we need to do something along the lines of 1.1 gigahertz or something equally related. I'm sure somebody will put one through over on the Facebook groups. So just as a there you are. Do you want Monster the Monster with Watt Monster? There you go, Millie. You can have that with pleasure. The Watt Monster. As she goes through a very quick, absolute bong. She could be the killer, to be honest, because she's got a killer sprint and she takes it out. In fact, I actually like that better. Killer. So we've got Terminators, we've got Killers, we've got Beasts, we've got Bears, we've got Wolves, we've got the Boss.
And if you're tuning in for the very first time to Women's Only Wednesday on the Donny Chaingang, I can imagine that you're wondering how on earth this relates to cycling.
It's very simple. They are all leaders on the Chaingang. So looks like Killer Skinner has got the nickname on there, and our beacon. So the yellow beacon controls the pace of the pack. It ramps up and pushes this on. We now, so Alison Killart's got now have Millie the Watt Monster or Millie Killer. Millie
Killer Skinner.
Killer Skinner. Yeah, we put it up on the message board. Tell us which one. Yellow Beacon's in charge of the group going forward and setting that pace. They also have a trigger point at which they take off the limiter. Up to that point, the aim is to stay with the gang as the pace ramps up. Keep the group together until they say the words G-O, G-O, G-O. I'm not going to say it because obviously the moment we do, everybody just goes like absolutely loons. But when that 6-letter or alternatively 2-letter times 3 word comes up on your screen, the G-O, G-O, G-O goes, at that point, then the limiter is gone. There are no rules. It's about getting to that finish as fast as you can and getting the best out. Of course, there is kudos and bragging rights for taking the win. Everybody wants to win on the DCG, let's face it. But what you'll find is that it will give you new FTPs. You get fitter, faster, stronger. That applies whether you're riding on the WOW DCG or the DCG on Tuesdays, Thursdays, or the WOW DCG, obviously, on when it's only Wednesday, on a Wednesday. And when that happens, our red beacon, who is generally known as the bus driver, so I'm trying not to sort of overload everybody with the technical terms, but basically is the person controlling the autobus at the back, the group at the back, the Lanterne Rouge. They are there to get everybody into the finish. They look after our riders who maybe aren't at the front. They also have a habit of serving drinks, tea, cake, gin, and everything else. And providing endless banter if needed. At the moment, though, this group looking very, very smooth indeed.
Yeah, we've gone into the start runs through these sections of Titans Grove, Matt, and as we talked about earlier, these are the rolling sections. This is quite tricky to keep a group together with the changes of momentum and pace on the climbs and the descents, because we all know what it's like when you go over the top of a climb and your pace starts to creep up really fast, and the rest of the group still haven't quite made it to the top. So you start to see, instead of blobs, you start to see snakes in the top side of your screen. But still, you know, keeping this group through this section is really key.
And you can just see that Millie is just calling at 2.5. Our red beacon just going back to give Gora a hand here to help pull up on to the group. And as riders detach that Red Beacon, you can have one of the hardest workouts going, can't you, Emma, as Red Beacon?
Oh, you can. You can indeed, because a lot of the time you are dropping back and pulling riders back on in the early part of the race, and just making sure that if anyone gets sat on the start line, you give them a tow back in. If anybody gets dropped, you give them a tow back in, until we get to the point, Matt, where the pace picks up so much that the Red Beacon will stay around 2.5 watts per kilo and sweep the back and sweep up anybody who's being dropped off of that group and can't stay with the pace. You know, often we have riders join the Donny Chaingang to get a comfortable workout at 2.5 watts per kilo, and the whole aim of their ride is to have a social ride with the Red Beacon, so that they get an easier ride and they don't actually have to push on and go with the front end of the pack. So people can use the Donny Chaingang for different reasons and different training, and it's really good that it enables you to do different things with the same event.
Indeed, so we've got Laura Lawson taking the role of Red Beacon with Kesia Gora. So as Kesia jumps onto the back, here we're going to have a group of 3. This could be the bus forming, because you can see Laura just also jumping in with Joe Takun. So Joe, jump on the back, get on the bus. Time to make the most of the assistance. So Joe now going to be in there. The few off the back going to need to push. Remember that bus, we are at 11.9k with 22 minutes in. It wouldn't be the earliest bus to form by any stretch of the imagination, nor would it be the latest bus to go. Pretty typical, really, isn't it, if we start to get the group forming at this stage?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, Millie's already this group moved up to 2.5 watts per kilo some time ago. So you're quite right, Matt. You know, 22, 25 minutes in, we would expect to see that red bus starting to form. You know, and many thanks to Laura for jumping on tonight. She's had another rider who's had a phenomenal season this year. I think Laura, she targeted, and I think she'll be quite open and honest that she targeted the UK Gravel Championships this year and came away with a fantastic second in her age category. So a rider seriously on form and has had an outstanding season as well this year.
So Joe Takun just at the back, just distance. I think Laura just pulling Gora up to the group. That's going to take a bit of doing. Looks like Takun just at the back, but I think Laura just very aware of that. Let's see whether this group would get back in. I think if Gora wants to make the catch, now is the time. She needs to put a sprint in though, because you get up towards the top here, whereas it levels out. Now's the time to wind up. If you haven't made it by now, you could be in trouble. Millie just on the back of that group.
Yeah, so Millie just dropping back, and in fact Gora now putting out 3.8 watts per kilo with 5 seconds left. Back to that group now, trying to make the push and trying to make the catch, but she's just dropped off that pace, so I think she may well. Now, oh, look at that, it's up and down and up and down. It's going to make it or not.
So the group continuing to push on here. Gora starting to make her way across. Looks like Laura dropping back for her next rider. I'll tell you something, Laura's going to be working hard here today. So Laura going backwards and forwards and looking after our riders. So gone back for Joe Takun. Joe in here. Nicely riding, nicely strongly. Interestingly, Joe going for a lightweight option on the bike to have that advantage on the hills. It doesn't give you an advantage on the flatlands. It does help on the uphill sections. But with the pace going up as the Raptors come down the opposite side of the screen there, just heading in. I think the only dinosaur around here, though, should be me, realistically. This lot are all absolutely flying at the moment. My knees certainly felt Jurassic by the end of today. So here we go. The bus, I suspect, is going to form around Laura as the group continue to push. You can just see Foxy now with Millie Skinner at the moment. Millie Skinner, the Finish Line Racing Team rider, the Pro Noctis Rotor, Heidi Kjarsen, Red Chili Team Rider. I think that's all the sponsors. It's not always the case. Got to say that Rick Lister and the gang always have like an armful of sponsors. It's nearly as bad as Team Juice and MI Racing, Pony Pipe, Uncle Tom Cobley and all team who seem to be on, or the Zepnut, Laser, Century Ridley, you name it, they've got it on their name.
Well, let's put it this way, it definitely works for them because the team are one of the outstanding women's road teams in the country, Matt. So whatever Rick and the team are doing with Joe and Millie and the rest of the gang, it's obviously working for them, and long may it continue.
Yeah, great sponsors though, and they are indeed. And of course, Pro Noctis, one of those key people who are looking after the riders and involved in there, of course, is Ed Clancy, a man who's no stranger to going quickly as well. Don't forget, of course, that all of the riders jumping on to the gang are here to ride the Donny Chaingang. We are currently motoring our way in and through. We're at 14.1k at the moment, and as you can see, a few people now starting to struggle with that pace. The red beacon is at the back, just making sure that Joe is doing okay here. Come on, Joe, that's it, nicely, keep picked up, sit on the wheel. Remember, 6 metres. 6 metres is key here. And that is the point at which you start to lose any kind of effective draft from the rider in front, which is pretty essential. Almost as essential as making sure your coffee is full before you start broadcasting the Chaingang. I don't know.
Well, as Millie is picking up at the front there, that blob now is moving really well at the front. She called 2.5. I'm trying to think, I'm sure she called 2.5 watts per kilo, and she called that some time ago. So we are now 27 minutes into this Women's Only Wednesday Chaingang.
Wow, DCG is back, and at the moment it's winding up. We're starting to see riders disappear from that pace. I think we're going to see JA and Sutcliffe McKay in here. Now, if you do get distance, critical things to know. So this is Jennifer A in here. So Jennifer at the moment in with Michelle Sutcliffe McKay. If you are in that group and you've been distanced, find somebody to ride with, get some assistance and work together. If you work together, you can find yourself going up there. If you are totally shelled and your legs have gone pop, pick up the group behind, and don't forget, the red bus is coming. Ding ding, all aboard.
Yep, it is indeed, and that is the whole name of the game of the Donny Chaingang, isn't it? You know, you stay with the group as long as you can, and then when the pace is too much for you, you find a group on the road, or you join the red beacon and you ride into the finish. And if you are off the group once the proverbial 6 letters have taken place, it is a case of working as hard as you can with whoever you're with to get to the finish line first.
I wonder what you were about to say when you said the proverbial then. I was quite worried about the floods that we had in here. So, just quick communication there from our red beacon backwards and forwards. The gang doing a little bit of a chat further back. Our beacon and Joe just chatting away behind. Looks like Kesey Agora just starting to be distanced now. Our riders coming up towards the KOM. When they hit this line, next time round they'll be coming in the opposite direction, and just as importantly, it will be the finish.
It will. And the finish will be at the top of this, but the other way round. So the climb they are about to go down, you can see the line on the road here with the stones by the side. That is the indication. That will be the finish line when they come at it the other way. And they are about to descend what will be their finish climb.
I always think that's really mean.
What, going down the finish climb first?
Yes, because you know what's coming. And it's one thing knowing what's coming in the right way round, but when you go the opposite way round, you're going downhill thinking, oh, it's going to be horrible going back up it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as long in the reverse as it is going up the way they've just gone. It's rolling on the way in, but the actual climb itself isn't as long.
I've been struggling on the back of groups coming up this in the opposite direction, in the reverse, the way we're going to go on the way back in again, breathing out of pretty much every orifice I have. And I have to say, I don't agree with you. I'd much rather come at it the opposite direction.
No, definitely not. The direction they've just come at, you know, it's a 4 to 5 minute climb. This way round, it's a 1.5 to 2 minute climb. Obviously, it's rolling on the way in this way, the way round we're going to finish today. But I think it's better because you get, you know, you can stay in the draft, you can take the draft longer. I prefer it the way we're going to finish today.
oddly enough, you picked the route. So as the riders
Yeah, and I'm
come
not
down,
riding.
you say, yeah, I said, how much should I ride? You could have picked any direction you wanted, couldn't you? So Millie calling for it to go up to 3, and instantly there's a response. So those roller coasters starting to take effect. So it looks like Michelle now just drifting off the back. Looks like Laura and Joe just having a ride round. I mean, they're doing good pace here, you know.
Yeah.
This is what we want to see. I mean, they're not hanging around on the way up or on the way down. No, red beacons are there. Bit like on the broadcast. We don't leave anyone behind. It is not Top Gear rules. This is all about making sure we look after everybody.
Yeah, and as you say there, Matt, those two are comfortably rolling down there at 56 kph, you know, and tapping along nicely around an average of a good 2.5 watts per kilo. So the ups and the downs and the rolls are taking effect here, but we knew it would. It's that type of course.
It is indeed. Now let's jump up the road to Millie Skinner and co. And this is our leading group. We're just about to head into some more Jurassic territory in towards the mud flaps. We're going to just try and get our camera around without crashing it straight through a protected redwood. Oh, got that wrong, didn't I? Straight into the inside. There we go. Good job it's not real. So up we go in towards twisted turns, in towards those hairpin turns. You can see we're not actually all that far away from the turn. It's actually just on the other side of the mountains, on the other side of the range that you can see at the side here. Our riders, though, in this leading group are working well as they come down in and through the tree trunk. That'd be cool if there was a tree laid down big enough that you could actually just ride through like that. So at the moment on that descent, Millie are just bringing this group down. Looks like Rob just needing to push on. Don't get distance here. Looks like Derby the same here. So the pressure starting to take effect here on these riders. So at the moment it looks to me like Lisa Derby and Michelle Sutcliffe McKay, Harriet Robb just in the danger zone. And remember, if you do get distance, guys, find a partner, find somebody to ride with. Once you go over the top, you've got to stay in that group because that gap will open and it's really, really hard work to pull it back. So as we start to drop out here, we're going to be heading across towards the mud flats in a moment. We're just in with Rob, who's putting in some serious power here at nearly 5 watts per kilo on these climbs. You can just see the pressure that's being applied, that group dynamic, and the draft is just dragging them clear here at the moment of Harriet Robb. Harriet has to keep pushing if she wants to get on, but I think that is a big ask now. She may well be better waiting for Lisa Derby. Lisa not all that far behind here, and Lisa very experienced. You can tell that by that Tron bike.
Yeah, and the two riders working together, particularly when they hit the flatland section in not too long, will really make more inroad and be more comfortable to ride than a lone rider. And I think one of the things that is fabulous about the Donny Chaingang, Matt, is the fact that you can ride it week in, week out, and you can challenge yourself each week just to stay in the group a little bit longer, just to stay in the group a little bit longer. I remember when I first rode the Donny Chaingang, I think about 25 minutes was the longest I stayed in when I rode the main one on a Tuesday and Thursday. And I remember making it to 27 minutes, and then I remember making it to 29 minutes, and then I remember being absolutely over the moon because I'd stayed with the group for over 30 minutes. And the day I made the main go, go, go and stayed in after that, I was as happy as Larry. But it took me a long time and getting used to it and getting fitter, and I think that's all part and parcel of what everybody's doing.
It is indeed. You can just see that yellow beacon group just continue to try and sprint clear here of Harriet as they come in and around these twists and turns behind Harriet. Lisa Derby just making her way in. You can just see her directly behind. She's about to come into that turn. The avatar just making the left turn as we see Harriet's taking that right hand turn. The yellow beacon though dropping down out of sight round the side and about to hit that T-junction for that right-hand turn. So we are currently at 19.8k. They're going to hit the T-junction, take the left-hand turn here. They're going to turn left to go around. They've got a big long loop to do and then back up on to the climb. So here we go. Now comes the fast section because this is very quick indeed. This group is working well. just in at the moment with Mary O'Shea. Mary, another of our riders who was on the Donny Chaingang before the summer break. So Mary moving nicely at the moment. So you can see our riders just down on the bridge at the moment, just continuing to push their way. If we take the camera up in the sky here, you can just see everybody continuing to push on. That group looking good. So this is group number 1 on the Donny Chaingang. You can just see that gap has indeed opened up. Looks like Harriet Robb has got a decent gap behind her, though Lisa Darby was still continuing to push. Now, I think if I was Harriet or Lisa, I'd be aiming to talk to each other, get together. If you can talk at this stage, not always easy.
No, it's not.
And then we've got Michelle Sutcliffe McKay, and she's currently got 9 seconds on Lawson and Taco. So it's Joe Tacon and Laura Lawson, the riders who are squeezing their way in from the back of the group.
Yeah, and they're still tapping along at a really strong pace, which is fabulous to see. So this first run through Titans Grove has started to split the group as the yellow beacon has been pushing the pace up, and that call to 3 watts per kilo really did some damage.
It did. It's really broken a few people out of the back. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders now distanced. We had Keisha in there as well. That would have been 6. She was distanced as well now, just out of the running. This is what's left of that peloton. They've turned left at the T-junction at the end of the road and now are about to descend down into the tunnels to go under the sea.
They are, and as they head under the sea, they have 20k left to travel to that finish line, Matt. So the question today is it going to be a long shot or is it going to be a short shot, or when is Millie going to call it?
Well, this is what now you see. This is what it's like on the other side of the fence, because of course I'm always on the commentary, all but once. Whereas our leaders, they have the call. They know when it's going. We don't get to know.
Well,
you
say they know when they're going to call. They might have an idea when they're going to call, but I could tell you quite often I've changed my mind on the ride.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point, though. It's reactive, it's dynamic, it's flexible. It depends on the pace on the road. It's not going to planning I'm going to go at X kilometre when actually at X kilometre you're busy bringing somebody back in, or if people are winding up on their own, or you're just getting natural fragmentation anyway. So at that point, you've got to make that call. And I think for me that's a really interesting thing. Now, are we going to see 2 become 3? Is the duo going to become a trio? I was waiting for him to come in with a trio song there, but it didn't happen.
Oh gosh, no. Now you challenge my musical references, and you know for a fact that I am the weakest in the household on musical references.
You're the weakest in a household full of people who have no musical talent or knowledge. And that's definitely not us. We have 1 or 2.
Let's big each other up here, shall we?
Yes! We're really good at doing dodgy music quizzes. So, looks like the red beacon just passing Michelle Sutcliffe McKay. Michelle just taking a call of to stop at that point. Don't worry, we're back next week. We're back every week.
We are. The WOW DCG is in fact back every week. So every Wednesday at 6 o'clock you can join us. All you need to do is log on, get on your bike and turn your pedals, and you can have a ramped workout with a fast ending.
A ramped workout that repeatedly pulls out people's new FTP, extra power, maximum 5-second power, all those sorts of things that the data geeks out there.
Haha. So, Foxy there is moaning about missing out on the cake, but I'm not quite sure what type of cake Laura's got in her rucksack for everybody today.
Rucksack?
Well, when you're
back pockets, come on, cycling rules.
You're talking road rider, mountain biker, aren't you? There's the challenge.
How many mountain bikers wear a rucksack? Maybe a camelback. You could get away with that, maybe. Or,
well,
although, let's face it, we have all at some point done it. They've got gin and party poppers, apparently.
That sounds better than cake.
No, nothing is better than cake.
Alison, that's ridiculously healthy.
She's got all bran loaf. That just sounds wrong in all senses of the word.
That's a healthy cake.
Yeah, wrong in all senses of the word.
Those two words don't go together in your vocabulary, do they? Healthy
Yes,
and cake.
all cake is healthy, as far as I'm concerned. It's all food. It stops you from flaking out and falling over. That's, yes. No, right, here we go. I think Lala Luss has just put up a message that is something along the lines of, it is party smiley face. It doesn't translate onto the screen, but I can see it on my messenger, so it is, at least we get an idea. We can translate for you. Although I am doing a translation of a Pauline Ferrand-Prévot interview later tonight on one of the recordings. That could be entertaining. She could be saying anything.
Now, there is a rider who has had an absolutely outstanding year and has multiple rainbow jerseys.
Has 4 rainbow titles this year. XCC, XCO, XCM, gravel. Not done the XCE this year. Or the road or the cross. But let's see now. It could happen, yeah?
Okay, as Millie, our yellow beacon, calls for the group to move to 3.5 watts per kilo.
Oh, there's surely going to be some body spat out the back here at 3.5 watts per kilo. I've just seen somebody just disappear off the back there. Their legs kind of went a little pop. Let's take a little bit of a check here. Now, looks to me, it is so. That is going to be Sandra McKay. Sandra had a good ride on last Wednesday. Just taking a little bit of a check across. And looks to me like Sandra in there, so riding well.
Yeah, and it's a strong pace and a strong call from Millie to lift it to 3.5 watts per kilo. You know, that is some going because it's been sat at 3 for a long time, and that group has been moving really strongly.
So our message is coming in thick and fast. And don't forget, it is going to be at that trigger point when the proverbial hits the fan. So let's see whether or not all our riders make to that point that are left in now. I suspect they won't be. Great riding by Sandra McKay, saying she's got some definite improvement. Always improvement on the Donny Chaingang, because the routes are designed to test lots of different things in you. Great riding. Millie putting that up from the finish line race. Team the Pro, Noctis, Heidi Kianson, Roto, Uncle Tom Cobley, and I love that. I might use that in some live commentary at some point.
I don't think that would go down very well.
Rick's got a sense of humour. It's fine, don't worry. Right. Back to the action. 14 riders left at the front of this group. Next in the danger zone. No, I'm not singing the Top Gear theme tune. It is going to be Cardwell. That's Cheryl Cardwell. So Cheryl, come on, time to push. Don't let the back of that group get away from you. There's draft advantage when you're travelling, irrespective of the speed. And these guys are still moving at 33 kilometres an hour. That is still 20 miles an hour, almost exactly. Yeah,
and nice little bit of a push there on those pedals to bring her back comfortably into the middle of that group. And really, that's where you want to try and stay at the moment, in the middle of that group, and definitely not at the front of it, and definitely not 1 second off the back of it, because, you know, making the most of that draft is really what you need to be strategizing at the moment.
Strategizing, you can tell that is the posh educated one. So here we go. This is Helen in here. First DCG ride, riding very strongly here, still sat in this pack, coming round that hairpin turn at the moment. And this group is still looking good. Interesting to see that Lindsay Clark still sat in here, not going anywhere in a hurry. They're nicely tucked in. Got Elliot in here, Hagman in here, Foxy in here. Got a lot of very strong riders. And Gilbert tucked in this group as well. Now, it's going to be interesting because you've got to remember, when you are a beacon, and Emma can tell you this very, very well indeed, it is not as simple as pedalling round those cranks, keeping on, pushing on the pedals and putting out the watts. You've got to simultaneously watch everybody else, watch the group, watch potentially the live feed as well, and message, and as well type, all whilst pushing the pace up. Tough stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit of multitasking, but and I have to say, when I first did it, it took me a couple of goes to really get a little comfortable with it. But it's also, you know, it depends on how fit you are as well. You know, she found respect for all beacons, but Millie is so fit. You know, Millie should be able to do this standing on her head. But I have to say, once you let it go, typing and trying to stick with the race and put an effort down, that's when it gets really good fun.
Well, it has to be said, there is a rumour going that Beacons only let it go when they do because they've run out of the effort energy to actually be able to simultaneously type, talk, watch and ride. And generally that trigger point only happens when everybody has had enough of trying to do 16 things at once. Well, we're going to see if that's the case. The Donny cycling kit here on Millie Skinner from the Pro Noctis Rotor, Heidi Kiarts and Red Chili Bikes race team, the finish line race team in here. Now, here we go, taking the left-hand sweeping bend here.
We are, and they are coming back down onto the flatlands now. So this is going to be a long, flat section for these riders. So around 7 kilometres now of completely flat ground.
And then onto the climb to come up to the finish. I think this is going to be very interesting indeed. And I think if I was our Beacon, I would be now thinking, how am I going to put people in trouble here? We've got a big group. We haven't shed anybody for a while. The last rider to go was going to be Sandra McKay. Sandra not all that far behind, although time gap's showing us 1:17, 1:18. It's not all that far, because you can see Sandra not all that far off that group. Her currently just making the way in towards that right-hand turn. However, nobody's really just been distant for a little while, so everybody's sitting fairly comfy here.
Yeah, and they've got a really good pace ticking along at the moment. You know, at the front of that group, there's about 3.5 watts per kilo, and that was indeed what Millie called it as. So these riders are riding a really strong pace tonight, Nat.
They are indeed. So, at the moment, we have our leading group. 122 down is Sandra McKay, which you will get to eventually. Then we've got Harriet Robb. Robb continuing to push away out from Titans. Looks like Lisa Darby not all that far behind. These two are in a personal pursuit. There's still 8-9 seconds rolling between them. They're both doing the same pace. Guys, get it together. Man, you need to be together, dude. Don't be doing solo. It's just, sorry, that was harnessing my Nathan Guerra there. So looking good at the moment. So watching Darby and Rob at the moment. They've not quite got it together. It looks like, though, working together. We've got Laura Lawson and Joe Tackon. So going well at the moment. Let's get back in with our yellow group. So heading in and through. And looking good at the moment. So the group riding well. In with Lindsay Clark, one of our regulars. Lindsay, another of our real fast riders. Regular on the DCG as well as the WOW DCG. And looking good at the moment as they continue to push on here.
Yeah, and I'm taking a look at this, looking at that clock tick over. 48 minutes, nearly 49 minutes gone. Really good pace coming from this group. But, gosh, you know, I'd be... Oh, look at that. I'm saying, gosh, we've got to go from Millie, and we nearly missed that in the huff that I made. So Millie has done it. She's called the go. And there's some power going down at the front there.
Indeed, so time to put the camera up. Look at this. All of a sudden it opens up. That's Kinloch on the front, winding it up. And now this is about holding on. It's about getting that group together. You've got to keep pushing now. Are we going to see a breakaway? I love the fact that Millie can actually type enjoy while still kicking away at the front of this group. So Skinner holding the front of the group. She's leading this out. The trigger has been pulled. That plunger has been pushed. The fuse has been lit. Is it going to go boom? Or is somebody's legs going to be well and truly bust by the end of this?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at that. Alison Kinloch is getting her practice in for Yellow Beacon duties later this month. But boy, is Alison on some form at the moment, having ridden the 3 peaks earlier on in October and the first round of the National Cyclocross this weekend, where she podiumed at Derby. So she's obviously had a couple of days recovery since racing on Saturday, and those legs are looking good.
Well, look at this chase coming behind Kinloch. This is really interesting. The gap hasn't gone. It's only a couple of seconds, and this group are working well. So here we go. They haven't yet managed to lose a single solitary rider off the back of the group. The go was pulled. The attack went, and they've not deposited any riders out the back. This group, I think, are leaving them to hang out to dry at the front. Well, they might think they're strong. Leave them out there. Let them do the stuff.
Yeah,
then wear them out and bring them back.
And let's not forget, Matt, they are on the flatland section at the moment, where a break is much less likely to go. In fact, actually, that group now have just made that catch on the road as it strings out a little bit, and Alison puts another dig in there at 4.7 watts per kilo, but that group is all coming back together again. They didn't panic, they carried on riding, and they utilised the power and speed of a group on the flatlands to make that catch.
Well, here we go. At the moment, sitting on the front is Lisa Smith. Lisa pulls to the right-hand side here. As through goes Kinlock. We've got O'Shea, Hawkins, Backhouse, Hagman, Munden, Elliott, Foxy in there as well. I think at the moment this group back together across the road, across the lane. It's dead level, as Emma says. We are going to go into a climb. The pace and the power of this group is working well, and now it's about riding smart, only putting in the efforts that you need. Remember, we've got that uphill finish. We finish at the top of the climb. Some evil sadistic soul designed a route that finished on the top of a hill. But don't forget, of course, you always have the nice cherry on the cake, if we were talking about cakes earlier, and that is the warm down the run off down the hill, and the warm down's downhill this time.
Yeah, as Millie's saying, it is absolutely fantastic riding by this group at the moment. You know, we've seen that attack come from Alison once the go went. We saw Millie go with her and Foxy go with her too, but do you know what? That group didn't panic. They just continued to push on those pedals and closed it back down, and it's all back together again. The thing I have to say, Matt, standing here in the studio, when I left the studio last week, all I wanted to do was get on my bike. It was one of the most frustrating things I've ever done. Watching the WOW DCG and really wanting to ride my bike and not being able to.
Okay, so here we go. The riders continue to push onwards here, starting to stretch out. Let's see who is going to take this. And Backhouse now sat on the back of that group. We're on this little descent here, and this is all about putting it on. So let's see. Always a good session, says Foxy. Well, we're going to see if they can push. Now they've got that. Thanks, God. This is what we wanted to see. Here we are. Lisa Darby and Harriet Robb getting together as a duo. Now, guys, if you push, here's your carrot. Sandra McKay. Sandra, I hope you don't mind me calling you a carrot, but you are the tantalising piece of cake in front of the riders behind at 40 seconds. There's two of them, one of you, and you're putting in a great ride at the moment, which is going to make their life very difficult, even though there's two of them. So let's see if two riders together can close down on Sandra before the end. Sandra, can you stay away, or are you going to wait? We will see. She could be ready to mop up any of the debris from the explosion here. Yeah, Sandra's laughing. It's your call, Sandra.
Yeah,
you can either be carrot or cake. Sorry, you can either try and stay away or, join in with them, let's face it. So our riders at the moment, the go has gone. They are now putting the pressure on. I've just seen, I think that was Smith on the front again. So pushing the pace up is Smith in the blue Rafa top there with the pink sleeves and the headband there, the map headband as well. Millie says hard to get away on the flatlands. It is indeed hard to get away on the flatlands, but we've seen it done before. It can be done if you're strong enough, but you've got to be a superpower time trial style rider, and you also need a few people helping you, let's face it, because if you can pull 3 or 4 riders away, they're likely to be the stronger 3 or 4 riders, but you'll only get them to go if you keep on attacking.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, the different courses. When we're, for example, on Greater London Flat and it finishes on that sprint section, you know, when you let it go, it is so hard to go away from the group. But the tactics of the riders trying to break the sprinters on Greater London Flat, I always think is a really interesting one to watch, because you know if you take a large group into the sprint, it's whoever's got the highest power that's going to make the most thing go over that line first. So I do love watching the tactics of the different riders trying to play to their strengths and lighting up the racing and creating the different tactics.
Well, one rider who is very quiet at the moment in this group is Joe Munden. Joe, one of those riders who we know has a cracking sprint. A rider who can take this on from the front, Content sitting there at the moment. I think there's a little bit of saving energy for that climb at the moment.
Well, I don't know. Jo, I think, has not been riding a huge amount recently and is doing a fantastic job. She messaged me earlier on to say she was, she was going to hang on as long as possible tonight and see how she went after barely having ridden her bike for a while. I would say what she's doing right now is an outstanding ride in that case.
It is now. Kinloch went on the attack. Smith is answering it to come across. Skinner's going as well. If these three get up the roads, you've seen Smith has been showing she's super strong. She's been on the front. She goes with Kinloch. They are starting to run in. Remember, once we hit this banner that's coming up, the Rock Arch, that's 2.4k to the pens from there. Then we take that run of about another few hundred metres to that left-hand turn. So in about 3k, we're going to hit the climb. Now, are we going to see a classic counter-attack over the top? Went Skinner. And is this going to be a split in the group? 5 riders now up the road. 5 riders have gone. This is the chasing group. Are we going to see a split? That push by Kinloch has done damage. It has split this group apart, and now this is where you're going to have to really push to stay with that leading group, because we've got 5 riders in the front who have the capability of riding clear if they work together equally. It could be that they're not going to continue to push. They may think it's not worth doing, but everyone else behind is going to have to work now. Jo Munden pushes onwards here. Is she going to be able to bridge across? If she wasn't just doing a little bit of tactical talking, that would be an interesting move by her. If it was tactical talking, well, do you know what? I would think that's a very, very intelligent move by Jo, just telling you to tell everybody she's going like a bag of spanners, not riding a bike, but then push it out. But as they say, class is permanent, form is temporary.
Exactly. You know, and at the moment here, we've got a gap of 3 seconds back now from this front group to group 2 on the road. And they went out to 3 seconds before, but the group behind closed. I'm not sure they're going to close this time, Matt. What do you think?
Am I allowed to be really honest?
You are.
Not a blinking chance.
Right, well, there you go. You know,
prove me wrong. Come on. This I don't. I have to say.
I'd be off the front at 6.5 watts per kilo right now if I was.
Yeah, I think that. But you weren't when you just to prove me wrong. I think that the problem the group behind have got. You've got 5 really, really quick riders here. You've got 5 riders who are clearly riding strongly. Now, when you've got the group behind, and if you just jump up above, okay, we've got 8 riders. But can all 8 push hard enough to get this group back? That is a different thing altogether. Emma Gilbert in here, we know, has got the straight. So has Clark. So have a number of these riders. But will they get enough assistance from the rest of the group? And does everybody want to put that kind of effort out before you hit the climb? Because that, for me, is the other thing. If you're a super strong rider and you're going well, there's some roads out there. We've all ridden them. They're roads that when you're on a good day are absolute flyers. You motor your way down. You are the best rider in the world. Even if you're going really slow, you still feel like it. And then when you're having a bad day, you grovel. There's no in between. You grovel. You're almost walking up the hills. You're finding the biggest sprocket, the smallest chain ring all the time. The moment it goes up, and it's the same piece of road. And this is what this road is like for me, because it isn't actually pancake flat. It comes up and down 1%, 2%. But just as importantly, you know you're coming into the climb, so it plays with your head as well. And because of that, I don't think it's going to mean that this group will get back. I think the group in front want it too much. I know Millie will be no doubt aiming for a win. Come on, let's face it, she's a natural born killer. So we'll see whether or not she's able to make that stick this time round.
Oh, Killer Skinner, I'm never going to forget that now.
I know, it's just if Rick's watching, then Rick will no doubt be incorporating it into the next team talk. So here we go. Oh, look at that, dumping the anvil. I'm not surprised. It's a slight downhill. It's not going to make much difference having that. That's a really rubbish thing to have.
I'm loving the fact that Millie's setting herself up for Alison to sprint her legs off, with Millie saying she's had 2 weeks off the bike. I'd like to think after a long summer season, Millie, getting your excuses in early is part and parcel of the game. As Alison's mentioning, it may well be a good thing. Sometimes a bit of rest pays off.
Yeah, we will see. And I'm just thinking, I'm not sure Millie's had 2 weeks off the bike. I follow her on Strava.
Well, she might have had 2 weeks off training, Matt.
I think that's more like it, but her idea, I was looking at the right, her idea of a week off training is my idea of doing some flat out intervals.
That's why she she races a bike still and you commentate, darling.
Thanks very much. Okay, so riders up on the front. Millie said it's hurting. I hope so. You're going pretty quick here. You do 41k an hour, 25 mile an hour. They're not. Do you know what? This group behind, I could be eating my hat here. I'm not eating one of the nice ones. It could be something rubbish. So here we go. Gang up, continue to push hard here into Titans Grove. They go. This is the run for the finish. 4 seconds is the gap.
Yeah.
I tell you what, these chases are working well. Anybody shows any sign of weakness in that leading group, and they're going to be in trouble. Because it's a bit like Jaws at the moment. You've got these 5 going clear, but look who's coming around the corner behind them. It's a bit like that sort of climb up to the summit, if you're old enough to remember. It's Delgado coming through, but we're in the mist. It's Roach. Oh my God, it's Roach coming up behind him. Are we going to have one of those moments at the top of Titans? There's even some mist coming out from the mudflats.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? That gap went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. The group pulled it back to 3. It's gone back out again to 5. So we're now into the rolling lands, and I think making the catch in these rolling sections is going to be a little bit more tricky. But, you know, I don't want to put words on their pedals because it's the pedals that are doing the action.
You're going to try and work out what the hell you said. What the heck you said there. I'm not going to try and put words on their pedals because the pedals are doing the action.
Yeah.
Maybe the pedals are doing the talking so that you don't
The
need to
pedals
put words to it.
That
Maybe that might be
it.
better.
Put the words in the right order. They all came out just
All
in
the
the
right
wrong
words.
order.
Yeah,
in the
that's
wrong
the
order.
So here we go. Let's get back to the serious business. Of the Donny Chaingang of the Wild DCG. Chasing group here doing an amazing job. They've not fractured. Nobody has yet gone for the killer kick. Neither has anybody in this group. Remember, we've only got to get to the top of the climb. It's not all that far away. They are continuing to push. Final distance today, Emma, is
41.2k to that finish line on the road at the top of Titans Grove Reverse.
Wow. Okay, let's hope I've got the maths right for a start. I hope you got the maths right. We'll slowly find out. This group are working well. Remember, it's the top of Titans Grove they're aiming for. And at the moment, this group are still together. There is nothing happening between them. They can't break this up. Nobody's gone for a killer attack. I'll tell you something, I would be wanting to push now, and it looks to me like maybe we are going to start to see this. How well do our riders know this course? Do they know when that push needs to go? Here come the roller coaster sections. This is where it gets tricky because it's minus 7% straight away. Quick flick round up to 6% over the top. Down it dives back off, back to minus 7 on the way down. Big kick as you come back over the next roller coaster at 7%. And you can just see this is a tricky section. And interestingly, the group behind are not holding the same pace. They have gone backwards as this group, I think, have not slowed down as they've hit the climb. And it's starting to take its toll on the riders.
It is, and we can see some real power coming out of the front of that front group as they continue to push up these climbs and roll down the other side. And you're right, Matt, we're now out at 13 seconds to that chase group.
So here we go on the front. Joe Munden, second wheel in that maroon colour top. In the burgundy top is Alison Kinlock. Then we've got Millie Skinner with our beacon over the top. Hagman is the rider with the Wahoo Le Col jersey on immediately alongside. We got Foxy in the green, and then we got Lisa Smith, the rider who's just squeezing on the inside here. So this is getting closer and closer as we come into the finish. Time is running out for somebody to put in a massive dig and take it clear. But remember, this climb goes on a long way.
It does. We have indeed got a long way still to go. We have 2.2 kilometres to the finish line. So these riders do have still some way to go as we are through these rolling lands. And you can see on that picture on the top right-hand side that second group on the road have split on these rolling sections in terms of that chase behind.
So behind we have O'Shea, then a little bit of a gap back to Carwell, then it's going to be Dooley, then Elliott, then Gilbert, Hawkins, Clark, Backhouse, then the gap back to McKay, then it's going to be Darby, Hobb and Lawson. As we go back through, let's run up to the front of this group. Let's see if anybody is being shed yet. Nobody at the moment. All pretty much together here. Still 6 riders in contention. Not all that long left.
No, there isn't. There isn't at all, Matt. And as we see, constantly changing at the front here as these riders snowball through and off on these sections. You know, some of these riders trying to get as much recovery as they can when they can, others pushing on really strongly. So it's anybody's call, I think, from this group of 6.
Well, I think it's going to be very close. It's going to come down to timing now, and that is always a risky proposition. Who can get the timing right? Who can make sure they get this push right? We're going to go under the Kilnsey Crag-esque overhang here. Climb Kilnsey Crag. Very similar to that, apart from it's not halfway up a mountain, it's just down in the Yorkshire Dales. Very nice it is. Nice climb there. Directissima, one of my favourite little climbs. Anyway, enough rock climbing talk. So, who is going to take this? 6 riders as they come in. It's going to start winding up as they come out around the turn. It's going to be an interesting few kilometres now. Munden up onto the front. We're just about to hit the climb line there proper. So here we go. The run to the finish. We are 0.89 as we hit that green section. So it's going to be very close. So 890 metres as they hit that green line. As they come up, time is running close here, but remember this is uphill, so it's going to take some time. Who's got that power? Is somebody just going to set a pace and see if they can burn everybody else off their back wheel, or are we going to see an explosive moment where somebody really puts the pressure on? I think Munden and Smith at the moment with a little bit of gap opening up. Now Hagman is working well here in that Wahoo La Col kit. Got the disc going, sat at 4 watts per kilo. Skinner is trying to roll with her, and it's a dangerous thing to tow Skinner to the top. I'll be wanting to put a few digs in here, but look at Hagman go at the moment. Look at the cadence there, Emma.
I know, 93, 94 revs per minute, but they've got less than around, so they've got around 600 metres left of this climb till they get to that white line across the road and those rocks at the side of the finish line today.
Well, you can just see on our map, they're at the top left-hand corner, about to go off the screen now, and they are literally a series of left-hand turns away. Hagman putting the pressure on. Now Skinner starts to go over the top. Skinner's gone at 7 watts per kilo, 8 watts per kilo. Can anyone go with our beacons? Are our beacons going to make it 2 out of 2? Sammy Stewart took the victory last time. Can anybody challenge them? They could be setting themselves up for a serious record here. Well, here we go. Millie Skinner is going to be Killer Skinner again. You can see that the top of the climb is coming. She's put the pressure on. She's got the gap. Hagman's going behind her. So at the moment, it's going to be Millie Skinner who's going to come through first. So Skinner comes up to the line. Skinner takes it behind. Who's it going to be? I think it's going to be Hagman who's going to get second place here today on the Chaingang. It's Hagman in second. Munden comes through in third place. Then it's going to be Kinlock in fourth. It's going to be Smith in fifth. As she goes over the line, it's going to be a sixth place for Foxy, who's on her way up. Lisa Jane Link coming through in sixth position.
Wow, they absolutely nailed that, didn't they? And Millie earned the right to the Killer Skinner name.
Indeed, and it's already up on the screen now. Mary O'Shea on her way here. Emma, she's broken clear. That group has fractured all over the road. So going to be Mary going to come through here. 7th place for Mary as she keeps on going. Great to see Millie able to get those messages out after coming in and through the line. So it's going to be Mary O'Shea behind. It's going to come down, I think, to a split between Elliott and Cardwell and Gilbert. So over the line goes O'Shea. Elliott has a little bit of a gap. But remember, there are 3 riders here. That line is coming real quick.
It is.
Who's going to have this? The key's going to come from somebody, surely. Oh, it rolled through. I think that was going to be Elliott, followed by Cowell, then Gilbert. Behind it's going to be Dooley. So Dooley goes in over the line, chased by Sarah Louise Hawkins. Sarah coming on the way up here. So our riders watching the feed as well. You can tell our beacon keeping a check on everybody. So Sarah Louise Hawkins is going to come through. It's going to be a 12th place. Great first ride here by Helen. Sorry, Harry. Is it Helen? Not Harry. I've got to remember, my brain is falling apart here. Helen Backhouse.
Helen.
So Helen is on her way in. Great riding by Helen. She's going to come through just ahead of Lindsay Clark. I think Clark just behind. Over the line goes Helen. Then it's going to be Lindsay. Another great ride by Lindsay once again. So they have got a little bit of a gap. Great riding as they came in and through. Time to do that warm down, guys. Give that a nice spin down. You can just see Millie at the moment just sitting at 0.8 watts per kilo. Not surprised as she comes down on her way down through the section.
Yeah, and some fantastic rides, Matt, from our new riders like Helen today through to our experienced riders. You know, I clocked Millie obviously working very hard for that win because her heart rate touched 210 beats per minute.
How many? 210.
And if you ask Russ at about 160, the differential between those two yellow beacons' heart rates is phenomenal.
Yeah, that is quite a scary thought. Although Millie is probably half Russ's age, let's face it.
Probably not quite.
Not far.
But she's probably definitely half my age.
Well, yeah, I won't even ask what your maximum heart rate is at the moment. It's about 125. Wow, there we go. Our riders on the way in. So next in will be Derby, followed by McKay. Then it's going to be Rob. And then it should be a Beacon group of Takon and Lawson. They're all on the climb here, so they're doing really well here. I think it's going to be very close as they come into that finish. So as those riders make their way into the climbs here today, Emma, it's been pretty astounding watching these riders at the moment. You can see them over on the side there as Lisa Derby comes up. What an attack, Emma. I thought that was really, really important where you saw that wind up and nobody was getting shelled out the back, but then a push from Alison Kinlock started to put a gap in and she was joined by the strongest riders.
Yeah, but it took 2 attempts for that group to go on those flatlands. You know, the first time they tried and the first time they pushed, the chase group came back. There weren't quite enough people in that lead group, but the second time they went, 6 riders went clear, and it was enough once they got into the rolling lands of Titans Grove Reverse to make that a solid stick. And then, of course, our Millie attacked off the front and took the win.
She did indeed, and I think it really does show, doesn't it? Those yellow beacons doing a great job, but that's some record now. 2 wins out of 2. Maybe we should stop now.
Well, I think I'm going to be lobbying riders next week because we've got Becky Story taking the yellow beacon next week. So I think we need a bit of a call round to see who we can get on the start line next week to make sure, well, to see whether it's 3 out of 3 for the yellow beacons or not.
Well, that is going to be taking some doing to be there. Certainly not something that happens on the DCG. They do take the occasional win, but definitely not every week. So our riders continuing to push onwards. McKay now coming up underneath the crag. You can see Derby in front of her, 13 seconds separating these riders out as they go in and through. Lawson and Takon all well together at the moment, but certainly it looks to me like these riders going very, very well indeed, Emma.
Yeah, they are indeed, and you know, it's been fantastic to watch tonight. All the riders doing an absolutely outstanding job. And on this course, it's a challenging course, Matt, with the flatland sections and the rolling sections, very hard to stay together. And once the pace gets up to 3.5 watts per kilo, it's so difficult. And as we were talking about earlier, each week sticking in a little bit longer and the fitness really comes.
It does indeed. Right, okay, let's jump back in with our riders. We're in with Derby. Been a really interesting little pursuit going on between these riders with Derby and Rob. McKay getting caught by Derby, who's continued to wind up. Remember the official finish being at the top of this climb, but McKay's not all that far behind. Sandra McKay still continuing to tap that rhythm out. 80 revs per minute. cadence of 80. Just up to 70, gets out of the saddle to kick it back up, keep it rolling there. And then it's Derby just in front. Derby sat at 60 revs per minute. Behind them, you've got Robert just under 80. You've got Lawson sitting at about 80 once again, and about 65 for Joe Tacken, who gets out of the saddle there. So we have our next riders on the course, all well ahead, of course, of our full speed events avatar, the poor avatar who gets on more start lines and gets more DNFs than anybody I've ever known.
That's the part and parcel of it, though, isn't it? You're getting someone on that start line. And talking about start lines next week we will be travelling to Richmond for the Libby Hill after party.
Woohoo! Libby Hill after party. If you haven't been to Libby Hill after party, ask Jo Jarvis. She knows exactly what it's like. She used to live on the course. So, in all seriousness, next week going to be an absolutely cracking course. Essentially, we do a run around the top of the plateau. It's got a slight gradient. We do 5 laps on the top. We then drop off the side down towards the river, and then we have a kick up to the top of Libby Hill on the cobbles. Going to be really interesting to see what people do with their power-ups as well, with those power-ups, because having an anvil is amazing on that downhill. Having a steamroller on the climb is even better, but just as importantly, you still got to stay with the group, and that's not always possible. You sometimes have to use that power-up. Now, Sandra McKay closing in on Derby. I think she's going to run out of road, though, to do so before we hit those stone cairns, the pillars at the side of the road. That gap is at 5 seconds. So here we go. You can just see Derby continue to push here. Lisa Derby doing a great job here. And that orange and rainbow kits in action here on the side of those shots. You can just see pedaling up and over the line. So the warm down to go. Great riding by Derby as she goes off down the side. It's going to be Sandra McKay. Great ride by Sandra. Another improvement, I'm sure. Sandra, keep pedaling. Keep them ticking over, kiddo. Make sure you get that lactic acid flushed out of your legs.
Yeah, indeed, as we can tick back to our next rider who'll be coming up that climb and coming round that right-hand bend and then the left-hand bend that will take her to the finish line.
So next rider is going to be Harriet Robb here. Harriet with a almost Tadej Pogacar sort of tough coming out there. I think I want one of those out of the top of my Swift avatar, one of these tufty things. Like, I've got
what, you mean like when your hair comes out the gap in your helmet?
Yeah, that's
trust me, it's not great when you take your helmet off.
No, I know. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I'm just making the most of having some hair left. Right, so in with our next rider, another great performance here today, and coming in to those last few meters, going to come up over the line. This is the top of the climb, and going to come through. It is going to be Rob who's going to come through the next time in through the finish there. So well done to Rob. She goes in and through, and great riding there by Harriet. And that
1.5 watts per kilo this ride. So really good riding here.
It is indeed really, really good riding, and great to see them working their way up here. Looks good at the moment, and our Red Beacon doing an amazing job, Emma.
Yeah, and a big shout out to all our Red Beacons. Laura, thank you ever so much today. Joe last week, and every other Red Beacon that we see on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday on the Donny Chaingang. They are the hidden spirit of the Donny Chaingang, I think, the old Red Beacon at the back, you know, and they do a fantastic job and a fantastic social job, and the banter is just superb.
Indeed, and good to see that Laura Lawson in her Specialised Ambassadors kit at the moment, and of course a regular racer as well on Zwift as well as in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed, she raced last night.
Racing for the one and only Aeonian Race Team, the almighty. Then I think on Zwift, the Aeonian Race Team are a bit like the Shibden CC that Alison Kinloch rides for in terms of being Yorkshire teams.
What do you mean, everywhere you turn there's an Aeonian woman on a bike?
Yeah, pretty much like that. It's a bit like that when you go ride round anywhere near the Shibden team at a cyclocross race or similar. So here we go. Coming in towards the finish. This is Joe Tucker going to be coming up here. Come on, Joe. Doing a great job here, and on to the climb, the final kick up to the line. So Lawson just in front. Our red beacon attack on has just got to get past. Come on, can she put that last dig in? Roll that red beacon. Come on that line. And once you get up to the rocks, you just need to coast down to the blue line. That's kind of how it works on the Donny Chaingang. The official finish always a fixed point on the road rather than that blue banner. Well, almost always. As the riders come up the climb. Now, come on, Joe. Keep pushing. Don't sit on a wheel. Go straight past her. Blast past her.
Oh, we got
Come on.
toing and froing going on here as they are about to take this left-hand bend, which will show them the finish line.
Here it comes. There's the stone cairns. So looks like it's going to be Joe who's continuing to push. She's going to get all the way into the line. Come on, last big kick here. Takes a drink on the way through, or her avatar does. I'm not sure Joe's going to be able to do that. So Joe goes through over the line. Great riding by Joe. And another good ride. Not all that far behind the rest of that bunch. To say that red beacon bus form dirty, I tell you what, they've kept a cracking pace going.
They did. Absolutely brilliant pace by that red beacon group tonight, and all of our riders. Some fantastic riding right the way through the field, from the very front right the way through, everybody giving it their all.
So our riders now start to make the way down into the descent. We're in with our red beacon at the moment. That is Laura Lawson in there. Emma, it's been a cracking ride tonight, as always on the Donny Chaingang. Have you got a rider of the night?
Oh, rider of the night. I don't know. I'd quite like to say.
I love springing these on
you.
You
Do,
haven't got a
don't
clue
you?
that I was going to say
and
that.
You know
I've
what?
known all day.
I'm going to give a shout out to Alison Kinlock. She's going to be our yellow beacon in a couple of weeks' time, but she was the one who put the power down first and really tried to make some action after the go, go, go.
Definitely. Joe, tack on for me. Joe, in this group with Laura. Absolutely proper chain gang, riding road strong, kept on going. There were a number of people, but when she was with that red beacon, she hung on to that wheel, super glued to the wheel, and kept on riding. And that, for me, that's what the Donny Chain Gang's about. Well, let's leave Joe and Laura to make their way in and down. Emma, it's been a fantastic ride by our riders, hasn't it? We're back next week for Richmond. It's going to be an absolute cracker. And of course, we're back for the Chain Gang tomorrow. Are you looking forward to watching that? Or I'm presuming you're not riding?
No, I'm not riding. Not near a bike yet, but hopefully not too long off before I can put my feet on some pedals.
Well, thank you, Emma, for joining me down in the studio. We'll let you get the headset off and let your ears cool down. I think they've probably been burning a little bit with all our chatter.
Anyway, really good to join you all tonight. Thanks for some great riding.
So as Emma goes to cool down, a few words from me. A quick reminder, make sure that you join the Donny Chain Gang Supporters Club, the DCG Gang. You can see the people up there, they look after you. If you're a member of the DCG Gang, 1080. Best in the business, set of Oakleys, best prices, best advice, and extra discount from Ian and all the team. OTE, 20% off still from OTE. Don't forget, of course, we've also got Continental, Velasquez, 20% off them. Halo, sponsors of the month for Halloween, 20% off Halo goodies in the store. Gritty with the sustainable sports apparel, 20% off from them. Nonna's looking after our riders as well. But please, guys, make sure, if you can, donate. It helps us all keep the show on the road. I hope you've absolutely loved riding as much as we've loved talking about it. We're back tomorrow for another day on the Chain Gang. It's going to be the Donny Chain Gang, a cracking route as well. And it'll be Russ leading that out. So a massive thank you to Millie Skinner, to Laura Lawson, our beacons. Thank you very much to Emma, who has joined me down in the studio once again, as well as heading up all of the planning for it. From me, Matt Payne, from everybody on the Chain Gang, enjoy the riding. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.